Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're enjoying the new short film, Winter Whispers. Had to think about the title for a second there. Uh, and yeah, check out other stuff on the channel. Okay, so kind of the reason I decided to post this particular video is usually after I do a pretty involved film project, whether it is a short film, whether it's a feature length or documentary thing, I tend to, as I guess sort of my own personal creative victory lap, go into a deep dive of some of my physical media. You know, watching movies I haven't watched in a while, revisiting shows I haven't watched in a while that I have in my collection because I am an avid physical media collector. I believe in collecting physical media as sort of the hard copy, tomes that we need them to be, because streaming services, sure, they're great. They provide a vast array of all kinds of content. But two things, for starters, is that you can certainly get lost in that well of content and end up just continually adding things to your watch list. And two, there isn't a permanent guarantee that your favorite content will stay with that service, that whether they just lose the rights to distribute it and air it on their different platforms, or what have you, the site just glitches out or whatever, and it's gone. And I feel like it's better for me to just have a physical kind of on hand reminder, because there's also a lot that can be lost in the translation from something that used to be on a disc to, or a video cassette to, pristine HD screens. As you probably noticed with stuff on, say, like Disney Plus, Simpsons jokes that are cut off because they have to format it for a 16:9 aspect ratio. And I'm not going to go down this well about physical media. Just know that I watch a lot of stuff on physical media. And I decided, as I was going through, like I said, sort of my post-project dive into some stuff, I have a lot of box sets, or at least stuff that's bigger than the average Blu-ray or DVD slipcase cover. Stuff that just eats up space on my shelf. I mean, I enjoy that it's eating up space on my shelf. But I decided, like, you know what? What are some of the really unique ones for me? Because I do have a lot of box sets. I'm not going to go through my entire box set collection, because that would be a lot of my TV stuff. And it's mainly, the box sets are massive just to hold a lot of discs. There's nothing really truly remarkable sometimes. But some of these I found a lot of, like, personal connection with, just some really great features, and the inventiveness that comes with these box sets. Because I feel like these days, I don't know, there's not a lot of presentation or pizzazz put into a majority of mainstream DVD, Blu-ray releases. It's just kind of, here's your regular case with the disc or two discs or what have you, and here's your code for the online version of it, and there you have it. And it just got me thinking about all these assorted box sets that I've accumulated throughout the years that I feel just have a lot of personality to the display of them, but also a lot of, like, worthwhile content too, not just the movie and the special features on the discs themselves. So I will exclude VHS for the time being, just because I don't have that many of them in terms of, like, VHS box sets, but I still love them. And also I'm going to exclude, like I said, a majority of the TV stuff. There's only, like, a couple of TV series I have on DVD that I feel have great presentations to them. And I'm going to divvy this up into some different categories here. The first will be the TV stuff. The second will be the Criterion label specifically, just because, yeah, they have some pretty good displays, not just for a collection of movies, but also just for one singular movie sometimes. Then I'll go into some of the single release box sets, and what that is like one film, but has a big enough like casing for multiple versions of that film, or just has some extra supplemental stuff. And then the box sets of like franchises. So, for example, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but like, sequels, all contained within one package. So, all right, let's get going. Starting off with the TV things, I sometimes will find some rare jewels at dollar stores or at thrift antique shops in the area. I tend to go around those every once in a while just to see what's available in their physical media collections. Some of it's a lot of expected stuff, like Blu-rays of movies that it's like, why did this person get a Blu-ray of this movie to begin with? But then sometimes you'll find like a massive haul of stuff that you're kind of like, you know what? Interesting presentations, but also I never thought I'd get a physical copy of this. The first thing that I want to show off here is my special edition director's cut of Dune. And by Dune, I mean the sci-fi mini-series that they released back in late 90s, I believe this was. The 3-disc director's cut, uncensored. There are some pretty spicy moments in this that weren't meant to air on Sci-Fi. Stars William Hurt, as in like he's in it for the first third as Leto Atreides. But he's not putting a lot of effort into this particular performance, I feel. But there's plenty of other great stuff here, too. And while I love the Villeneuve Dune series, I absolutely think he's knocking it out of the park with the style and with the adaptation. This was how I was first introduced to Dune, even before I read the book. I had seen this miniseries on VHS originally, I think. And kind of really enjoyed it for what it was. And this is a very basic presentation, but for the special features where it's got a lot of like great sort of production documentary stuff about putting the series together and being able to take a swing at making Dune palatable for the mainstream audience, I kind of appreciate that. And also, like, I don't know, something about the bevel kind of embossing, the gold kind of shimmer on it. Yeah, I don't know, I kind of just love it. It makes it feel like an ancient text of some kind. While I do have Dune and Dune Part 2 on just regular Blu-ray release, I hope that when Villeneuve is completed with his full vision for the series, maybe he'll come up with a box set that's on par with something kind of like this, or better too. Like, I'd be all for trading in my Blu-rays of the movies on their own in favor of something kind of like this. A very all-encompassing compendium that serves more as like a book on a bookshelf than just a slipcover case. So this one is definitely leaning more into this is a book on your shelf kind of thing. This is the entire season, the only season of Kindred the Embraced. I did a podcast with Katie, the One and Done podcast, and this was the first series we tackled. And it's got the entire, I believe, 8-episode run on there. And what I love about this is all the stuff that comes with it. Like, it opens like a book. You've got parchment kind of lining in here that contains not just the discs, but also a booklet on the series itself and notes and production journals. There is a little bit of a letter, the Kindred Requiem, and so it is kind of cool. Like, you're getting a little scroll from the creators. I don't know, it's all about the presentation. Like, in this day and age, this would just be on like one slipcover case. The entire series fitted onto just one of these regular things. Whereas here, this at least could be a great kind of conversation piece. People will see this and be like, what book is that? And I'm like, not a book, dear fellow. Have you ever heard of Kindred the Embraced? And you can get into how batshit that show is. These aren't really that remarkable in terms of their overall presentation, but I love the series so much and went on my way to find the entirety of Twin Peaks on DVD. The original series and the revival series, The Return. See the past couple of videos to understand why Twin Peaks is so important to me. It feels good that I have these available to me at any point, and I can go back to that weird, surreal town and all its quirky characters by just inserting a disc into my Blu-ray player, or my DVD player, I guess. But yeah, thank you for the great series, David Lynch. My last memorable TV box set, and I'm quoting box set like this because it's not really so much a box set as it is this. I mean, I'm a Ninja Turtles guy. What'd you expect? The entire 1987 animated series contained in a little mini turtle van. I like it. It's got this booklet with all the shows cataloged on the discs. Now the thing is that I believe while this presentation is great, the quality of the discs themselves varies, because I know these are originally, I think, Lionsgate distributed these discs, and these originally came as their own separate releases, like the separate seasons were their own regular slipcover case releases. And so what they did was they just took the discs from those and just compiled them into this presentation, which is fine, but some of the stuff is out of order, I think, in the booklet. And also, this could be cause for some quality issues just because they're not being held in place by anything other than the grooves in the van itself. And if you're not careful in extracting or putting back your discs, you could end up scratching them. Thankfully, I haven't done that yet. All of them seem to be in perfect working order for the most part. But the day comes where I feel like, oop, what if I drop this and all these come spilling out? Because, yeah, they can just come spilling out at the drop of a hat if you're not careful. So, thankfully, the turtle van stays very securely down on my shelf. But I just kind of like it. It's a quirky, kind of fun way to present that quirky, fun show from my childhood. These aren't going to be in spine order. I know some people will be really sticklers for that. Be like, go in alphabetical order. Go in the numerical spine order that they do in the catalog for Criterion. I'm like, no, it's just whatever I grab on the pile first. And some of these might be familiar from a previous video I did specifically about Criterion releases, so I'll try not to rehash everything. First thing up, a trilogy of Guillermo del Toro's films. This has Kronos, this has The Devil's Backbone, this has Pan's Labyrinth. I did go over this in a previous video, but what I failed to do was actually show off the beautiful display of the box set, because it was just out of frame underneath the camera. So let me actually open it up here to you. Beautiful, like a puzzle box, I think I said in the last video that I had these on. Now this one I'll have to be gentle with too, because all the discs, as you'll notice, are right there. So I don't want them to come sliding out by accident. It has this wonderful booklet, which again has production notes, essays. That's the one thing about Criterion that I can't recommend enough, is look at the supplemental material that come with the discs. It's not just about getting the movie, it's about getting the experience of people talking about these movies, journaling about these movies, and sharing well-written essays on these movies. Another trilogy. This is the Before trilogy, Linkletter. And I fell in love with these movies. The Before Sunrise one is the one that contains the booklet for all the essays and observations, but it comes with Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. And just because people will ask, what is your preference in terms of most enjoyable to least enjoyable? While I enjoy all of them, my favorite is Before Sunset. My second favorite is Before Midnight and Before Sunrise. But that's not to say the first one isn't good. I love Before Sunrise. It's just that there's stuff in Before Sunset and Before Midnight that at this state of my life, at this age, I respond to a little bit more vehemently than when they were young. Young Ethan Hawke, young Julie Delpy. Oh, the world laid out before them. Decalogue. 10 films, Krzysztof Kieslowski's kind of magnum opus. There's another Kieslowski set that I'm going to actually get to here pretty soon, but Decalogue is amazing. I love all the films, very much so. But again, the booklets were great reading material. So good. This is on its own a great kind of 10, 11 hour sit down. And I did that once. Sat down and watched the entire series. Was not bored at all. Like, very much mwah, beautiful. Another one from Krzysztof, the Three Colors trilogy. Again, you come with the booklet, and you come with blue, blanc, and red, or blue, white, and red, in that order of release. Or bleu, blanc, and rouge. My preferred watching order, blue, red, and then white. And again, they're all great films, but white is a little bit lighter in tone compared to the other two, I feel. Red has a lot of great kind of sentiment around it, but blue, oh my god, blue, Juliette Binoche, it hits me where I live. Like, her performance is tremendous in that film. A little cinematic universe in here. The America Lost and Found box set that I got many, many years ago, half price off at a Borders that was shutting down in Manhattan. So this has been with me through going on, man, has it been 13 years, I guess, at this point? Comes with a great booklet, the BBS story, a plethora of movies that I can't recommend enough that can range from the trippy to the straightforward. Again, did some videos on trippy and straightforward from BBS. Love this set. In fact, I might rewatch Last Picture Show tonight just as a treat to myself. These ones, I believe, are just the single release, as in these are only one movie per case, but I love the cases. The Great Beauty. I don't think I've said on the channel how much this movie has become the new love of my life in the past 2 years. I absolutely adore this film. It's pretty recent, as in like 10 or 11 years ago at this point, but it is so well shot, and Rome is such a beautiful subject for this movie to explore. It can be indulgent, certainly. It's an indulgent, coming up on 3 hours type of experience, and it's about a writer who's restless and living in Rome. Oh, boo-hoo on that. He's living really well in a nice apartment in Rome. But it's interesting. The opening had me because it's just people getting into like debaucherous, overly hedonistic partying and so forth. And then our main character's entrance. His entrance. Oh my gosh. Back when I used to be on that one site you would post on before, I don't know, some billionaire did shit with it. There used to be one clip or one GIF of Jep that I would post to describe my going into the weekend mood, and it's the one where you're introduced to him and he just kind of does a little sachet and shoulder shimmy with a cigarette in his mouth, being like, yeah, welcome to the party. Que bella. Yeah, the Great Beauty has become one of my new cinematic loves in the last couple of years. It won't be for everybody, but I love it. On the Waterfront. What I love about this, again, Great supplemental material, great booklet, great artwork on the booklet as well. What I love about this release is it's got all the different aspect ratio presentations for it, all on one release here. Another one I talked about, Vampire. This is probably the thickest boy I've got in my collection, just because it comes with not just, some essays and stuff, but also the script. It's on par with the actual booklet for the disc. It's as massive, and I don't know. Again, this could be misconstrued as being like just something sitting on your bookshelf, and immediately someone takes an interest in it, and they're thinking like, "What's Vampire? I've never seen Vampire before." It's like, you've never seen Vampire before? Settle down and have a look-see, because Nosferatu and Dracula, they may have sprinted, but Vampire's a nice leisurely stroll through a weird alley. Bicycle Thieves, great film. Very moving, simple, straightforward narrative that somehow has reservoirs of humanity and compassion within it. And again, booklet full of essays, people ruminating and reflecting on the impact that this movie had on them. Sergio Leone's in here talking about the merits of Bicycle Thieves. If I haven't said it enough, Criterion is worth the physical release just for the non-disc elements. If you just want to read some great interpretations of media, Criterion's where it's at. Jules and Jim. I remember watching this in not even film class, but in French class at one point, I believe. Back in high school. French New Wave, and something about the subtle detachment of the characters involved in this. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's a throuple. It always spoke to me just like, wow, they're really just kind of going with the flow of this. And you know what? Yeah, that's the way sometimes love is. You go with the flow of it until circumstances dictate you don't have to go with the flow of it anymore. And sometimes people just fall in and out of love, move on to other prospects, end up in car crashes. Man. It is a bit of a downer ending. Sorry, spoilers. But Jules and Jim. I believe Kim Cattrall said it on her Criterion closet visit. My first three-way. Yeah. Preach, girl. Another one I talked about extensively, Videodrome, so I won't belabor the point too much, but again, it's about the presentation. They could have just had a regular DVD case for this, but no, they were like, let's really lean into the idea of, videotapes and Betamax tapes and stuff kind of being the conduit for all the strangeness that this movie is going to represent, and voila. It's kind of like a tape. So yeah, something about that. I love that. I love that playfulness that they put into the presentation of it. Like, absolutely. Make it seem like it would just be a random videotape sitting on your shelf, but contained with it so much more. Do the Right Thing. Spike Lee. I'm on the fence of if Do the Right Thing is my favorite Spike Lee film I've seen. I don't know, because it depends on the sensibility and on the mood I'm in. This is a fantastic movie, though. Raw. Really cuts to the core of, I don't know, a lot of things that are still going on in the world today, in America today especially. Gee, look at that. Essays, excerpts from Lee's production journal. I love Criterion releases so much when they go all out to really provide something this extensive and this, I don't know, this loving. Like, you don't just assemble this stuff. Like, look at that artwork. Look at that. It's so beautiful. Like, you don't just do this for any old film. You do these for the films that you love. Like, you really put so much effort into presenting the films that you love. Seven Samurai, another one that I went over in a previous video. Again, booklet. And again, lengthy film deserves a lengthy beast of a disc, or at least of a case. At the time, I can't remember if I said that this was my favorite Kurosawa, because since then, I've incorporated so much more Kurosawa into my film mental library. Dreams, Ikiru. That's definitely my favorite now. The one that'll make me cry like a baby. But Seven Samurai, I gotta have so much appreciation for this pointing me the way through Kurosawa's filmography so far. This was the gateway point, just because I was like, samurai movie, let's go for it. And then from there came so much more. A lot of these are purely going to be just for the aesthetic of what they represent. So, Seven. What I love about this Seven release is they really lean into the idea of it being the Notebook from the movie. And, kind of making it seem as grimy and frantic and unnerving as the film itself. The supplemental features are what you expect probably from an extended edition or, a special edition of the film, but I gotta say, I really love the presentation of this. I really love how thoughtful this presentation is. There's a couple of these labels that I'm sad no longer exist. I don't think the New Line Platinum series is a thing anymore, since everything's been mainly gone over to Blu-ray or streaming release. This one is another from a series, the Vista series this time. The Tombstone Director's Cut. I kind of love this movie. It's one of my favorite westerns. My all-time favorite is El Dorado, so it's going back quite a few decades. But Tombstone is solid stuff. And again, it's about all the little details. So you not only do you get kind of a booklet, not as extensive as a Criterion thing, but look at this. You get a map of the corral. There's no other reason that should be here other than just it's a fun little thing. A fun little thing that puts you right into the mood and mindset of this Western. And I love it. How much of this video is just going to be me? I love it. I love it so much. But I think the Vista series is another one that kind of went the way of the dodo. If you can find any of these, I think I found this at a thrift store. I want to say. And that's the thing. Some of these, I'm amazed at how well preserved they were for being dumped in thrift or dollar stores. Really well taken care of for the most part. And I just try to take care of them as best as I can. This might not be the most extensive one, but I do just love that I got Men in Black in a solid case like this. That opens up like this, you're receiving some top secret info. What I really love about this release in particular is that it came with a piece of artwork that I had up on my wall for the longest time until I refurbished some things, but a little bit of a conceptual drawing of Farmer Edgar. And I just love this face. Vinny D'Onofrio, one of the all-time great performances in this movie. Another Western, though a little bit more of an unorthodox Western. This is Blazing Saddles. Fantastic Mel Brooks satire at its finest. The actual disc, of course, is, your regular kind of Blu-ray case. But I love the hardcover of it. And again, they go the extra mile with some stuff. They just have these little cards with, quotes and scenes from the film. It's like a whole series, almost like trading cards. And again, there's no, they didn't have to do this, but you're appreciative of it. And all of it contained within this little, postal carrier type of envelope. Unfortunately, I am missing the actual, covering for this, but I think it's fine as is. My original DVD case for Dogma. It's not as fanciful inside. A pretty standard setup, but what I love about this is just the way it looks. Is that it could have just been a regular movie poster. Hey, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck there. But no, this Dogma makes it look like it should be right next to a Gideon's Bible in a motel somewhere. What I love about the actual contents on the disc, though, is that this version, whenever you look up the film or chapters or special features on the discs, there's always a segue by, I can't remember if it's an actual hardcore Christian lady who's you're going to hell for watching this material. And she's shaming you for even clicking on anything in these DVD menus. And I kind of miss that in just DVD presentations these days, or Blu-ray presentations. It's all very just sanitized and regular. There's not a lot of style put into the releases anymore, I feel. where, you know, journeying through the DVD or Blu-ray menus was in and of itself a journey, where you could have like fantastic segues and non sequiturs and weird comedic bits that transition you into the special features, where you look for hidden Easter eggs. Like, I don't know, I kind of miss stuff like that. It's like, I'm sure they still do it for certain releases and have some fun about it, but Kevin Smith was definitely having fun with this particular version of the release. One of my all-time favorites, a little bit of Blade Runner. This is the Final Cut version, but not the most recent version of the Final Cut version, because this actually has a whole bunch of versions of Blade Runner on this, because anyone who knows, you know, Blade Runner has been cut and then recut and then recut again. You got the original theatrical cut with Harrison Ford sounding like he's being held at gunpoint doing the inner monologue for Deckard, or the narration, and it's got the happy ending and everything. You've got the international release. You've got Ridley's first director's cut, where he's like, totally a replicant Deckard is. Check out my B-roll of legend. This unicorn means Deckard's a replicant. And then you got the final cut, which keeps that, but then clarifies some other stuff. I do like the final cut quite a bit. I feel it does streamline everything pretty well, makes it as coherent and cohesive as possible without making it seem stupid. They got a great archive of production notes and things like that here. You have the fantastic, almost 3-hour documentary, Dangerous Days, Making Blade Runner, where you just see the misery on everyone's face, recalling how hellish that production was, but how worth it is in the long run, because finally people appreciate this movie in the current day. This is, again, one of my all-time favorites that I've had for several years now in my collection. And every once in a while, again, it's depending on your mood, I'll put on the theatrical version of Blade Runner if I'm in a silly mood and I just want to hear Harrison Ford fighting off boredom. I'll put on Dangerous Days for creative incentive. Apocalypse Now. Now, regarding Apocalypse Now, this is the final cut. This is the Redux, all done in different formats. This is the 4K, the Ultra HD Blu-ray, and just regular DVD. And yeah, similar with Blade Runner, there are going to be moments that I'm totally fine with Redux, and then there are going to be moments like, okay, let's get a little bit lengthier with the final cut. And I like the presentation of it. Mainly, I just love the artwork. The artwork's really great. This whole thing has a very, I don't know, it's very eye-catching, the contrast and the neon, and it makes it look hellish, which, you know, it's Apocalypse Now, so journey through the heart of darkness and all that stuff. So, yeah, I might have to revisit pretty soon. It's been at least a year and a half or so since I've watched Apocalypse Now. So something that I found in a thrift store for like $2, and it floored me that this was going for just $2. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And again, this is Close Encounters, all the different versions. This is the 30th Anniversary Ultimate Edition that, again, comes with a great little booklet and comes with all the different releases. Because there's this one where it has the Ultimate Edition, the theatrical version, the special edition. There's a director's cut from reaching all the way back to 1977 until the most recent director's cut from 1998. And so much other stuff. Special features, great supplemental material. I'll probably repeat this as well throughout, but a lot of these box sets contain so much extra stuff. It's like mini film school contained within a box set. And I kind of love that. This is one of my most beloved, but it's also one of my most beaten and broken. This is the collector's edition of Monty Python and the Holy Grail DVD. So yeah, this has seen better days. The glue has since dissipated on holding stuff in there. So whenever I take this off the shelf, I need to remind myself, like, oh yeah, this thing is, you know, you could fall apart. Because also the disc, the first disc, it doesn't stay fixed in there. Like, I'm actually holding it in there with my thumb, so it can slide around and slip around if you're not too careful. Again, fantastic booklet. with the script in it, or screenplay, I should say, so you can see just how accurate all those jokes were, how precise Monty Python had to be with their dialogue and performances. But also it comes with the Cenotype, which is an artist kind of rendition of a frame from the original 35mm, apparently. Apparently, I take a lot of these with a grain of salt because I'm not really sure how legitimate it is, but I mean, there you go. See? It's in there. I kind of like that. I don't know. I hope it's legitimate. I would like to think it's legitimate. And finally, this is another one. $5 in a thrift shop. And this is like one of the rarities, apparently. Like, I looked for what this was going on Amazon. A pristine copy could go for like $120 or so. This is the ultimate edition of George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. And because I believe this is no longer in circulation. Like, they stopped making, this specific type of release where it, again, comes with multiple versions of the film, where it comes with the extended versions, it comes with the European versions, there's documentaries on one disc, it comes with the original US theatrical release. This one, I was lucky that it came with still the booklets and stuff. Like, it's a crapshoot sometimes with stuff you pick up in a thrift shop because you never know, like, did someone, like, take out stuff? This was not in, like, plastic wrapping or anything. This was, it's beat up. It's seen better days before it got to me. So I was really amazed that not only are all the discs in proper working order, but that it came with all the extra stuff too, because that's awesome. It's got a little mini comic book in here. Day of the Dead is probably my favorite out of the first 3 Dead films that Romero did. This one is a close second just because it's the most fun. It's wacky. I still love Night of the Living Dead, but, it definitely is kind of a slower burn. Not to say that you can't appreciate slower burn horror like that or suspense, but I don't know. I felt like Dawn of the Dead had a nice balance of irreverent kind of wackiness and horror, and Day of the Dead had legitimate dread and made you really like kind of question humanity's overall nature. Food for thought. Brains. These are box sets of multiple films in a film series. The Alien Quadrilogy, the original behemoth of a collection. This has all the original theatrical directors' special edition cuts of Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. All of that now available on one simple Blu-ray case. And sure, it's saving you space, but there's something, I don't know, I kind of just love this. Like, it's so well put together. It's so extensive and massive, and the design of it as it unfolds more and more. Again, I love this whole like puzzle box kind of feel of it. There was a summer when I first got this, and I just hunkered down and went all in depth on all the Alien movies up to that point, excluding, Prometheus, Covenant, and Romulus recently, just because those hadn't come out yet. You'd probably be like, okay, so you went through all these in a marathon, essentially. Like, how do you keep your sanity? It's like, when it's Ridley, when it's Cameron, when it's Fincher in his first like breakout, how can you not? So good. And again, the special features, extensive documentaries about putting these films together, so good. How many ways can I say so good? This is a pretty standard kind of box set release because the actual discs and their stuff, regular, actually a lot thinner kind of DVD casings. But this one I chose to present for purely sentimental anecdotal reasons. This is the box set that we were educated on in film courses I took in college. When it came to talking about diegetic and non-diegetic sound, when it came to being able to translate screenplay to shot setup, when it came to score, we would pull from the special features on Raiders of the Lost Ark from this collection. Our teacher would play the special features off of this, and we'd just focus on like how much detail, how much precision really does go into movie making of this scale. It's always been, sure, I love the movies, but again, something about being able to see how the magic is made, how the sausage is made, for lack of a better term. It's not cynical with these particular presentations. What gets me is these days, you don't get stuff like that anymore. You don't get the in-depth, like, production diaries on movies. You don't get George Lucas falling apart while trying to make Phantom Menace. You get really glossy, like, promotional stuff, essentially. Like, they say they're like little documentaries and features, but it's all like retrospectives about like the legacy of these movies or the legacy of these characters, how everyone gets along well on set, and there's no ill will and corporate synergy. At least you get that in a lot of the mainstream stuff. I've noticed in a lot of, say, the MCU, Star Wars, the more Disney-centric type of releases that I've been witness to, they take out a lot of the gritty nitty for the sake of making it all look really polished from day one, when nothing is polished from day one. These behind-the-scenes things about Indiana Jones and George's earlier stuff about Star Wars, they show you the hell that is movie-making production on a massive epic scale. And I appreciate that honesty a little bit more so than what we get usually. To continue that kind of journey through honesty, the Robert Rodriguez Mexico trilogy, the original kind of presentation of it. Because I know there's been, I think, a recent like 4K restoration of a lot of this stuff put together into a box set, but these are my go-tos. El Mariachi, Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. All these have really great features on them too. Watching the making of kind of featurette documentary for El Mariachi was so inspiring to me because he's doing it with only a couple of thousand there, where all the shots, every shot you see in the movie had to be set up as its own separate shot. Like, it's not like, oh, he was intersplicing different things. Like, no, he had to take all these different shots at different angles. He didn't have multiple cameras, so he had to, I don't know, he had to do everything. Everything you see in that film is all done in each shot by shot, so to speak. And I believe he did shoot in order of the script, like nothing was shot out of order. Crazy stuff. But yeah, El Mariachi's great. Desperado. What I love about the Once Upon a Time in Mexico special feature is that this is where I get my puerco pibil recipe. He shows you how to make puerco pibil, and that shit is tasty. So I'll have to make some puerco sometime soon. It's getting chilly in the winter months. I need something spicy. This one is more so about the presentation. Because again, looks like it should belong in your bookshelf, but is actually multiple versions of Battle Royale 1 and Battle Royale 2. There's a sturdiness in this presentation. Like, these discs don't feel like they're going to be prone to slipping out at any point by accident. I love the interior kind of still shots from the film. It's just really cool looking. And I remember I lent this to a friend who had a bar in town. And he'd play like all kinds of different movies on there. Like, he played Nosferatu, the original 1922 Nosferatu, during like Saturday night when people were in. He'd play like Fantastic Planet, that French animated film from the 70s. He'd play like some action films. He played Goodfellas, things like that. It was very retro chic hipster type of bar. And then I lent him this set to play Battle Royale. And I remember one night I was in there and like we had Battle Royale on, and everyone's just like glued to the screen watching it. And you could tell it was people who had never seen it before. But yeah, I just remember like, hey, you got my book? And he'd be like, your book? He's like, oh yeah, the book, right, got it. And so yeah, this has been with me for quite a few years now, and I really love the presentation of it and those films overall. Dark Knight trilogy. I mean, I'm sure everyone's got the Dark Knight trilogy in their collection at some point. The what would you call it? Lenticular type of changes cover here. Again, comes with a booklet with some stills of the production and so forth. It's a pretty standard kind of setup for it, but again, I love that it has so much volume to it. I know it can be annoying for people. It's like, I'm trying to save on space, And yeah, sure, the probably newest iteration of this series is very streamlined, very kind of thin. Give me this brick any day, because I love it. The Godfather, the Coppola restoration. So this doesn't incorporate the most recent director's version of Part 3. This is, I believe, just the original version. And again, not too flashy of a presentation. Again, regular slipcovers for these. But again, the supplemental material, the extras, those are where it's at in terms of really taking a peek inside Coppola's brain about how you put these massive productions together. Which brings me full circle to these ones, because these, I feel, are the ultimate production diaries. And there's a reason why I'm showcasing them here, even though these all could have been their own separate thing. But, you know, who goes into the Lord of the Rings trilogy being like, I'm good for just the one? Like, the extended editions of these films are beautiful. The presentation is beautiful. Really, really reaching into the literary side of the presentation here. And again, putting them on a shelf, people will be like, never seen those versions of the books. I'm like, well, that's because of the extended editions. Some fantastic artwork in the notes. Just overall, really. And what I love about this too is like it offers like a little navigation for the special features, because you'll need it. The special features, the production diary essentially for all three of these films, it is as massive, as extensive, as epic and sweeping as the actual movies. They go into every little detail of what's entailed to put together the Lord of the Rings. Not just like fun little notes about like, oh, well, Aragorn broke his toe kicking that orc head or whatever. Like, no, they go into like what it takes to bring Fangorn Force to life. They go into detail about Force perspective. Every department behind these movies is given their appropriate amount of time to shine and show you what they're all about as production designers, as costumers, as actors, as script supervisors, as the director Peter Jackson, as Howard Shore, the composer, as producers trying to put this out there into the world. This is teaching you about filmmaking through and through in every painstaking little effort that they put into it. It shows you just how much blood, sweat, and tears really went into making this sprawling epic. It can be argued that a lot of artists out there, Villeneuve and so forth, they still put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into making their epic. But you watch like just how hellish and how trial and error a lot of stuff was in pulling this stuff off back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I don't think it'll ever be rivaled again. Even if they decide, for whatever reason Warner Brothers is thinking this, to let's reboot them, it's not going to match the majesty and scope of not just the presentations of the films on their own, but how much care went into making these possible. And again, the care is demonstrated in the packaging. This packaging makes these films feel important. And I think that's ultimately what I love about these box sets, is they went the extra mile to make you feel like you weren't just making another purchase of a piece of media you like. They went the extra mile to make you feel as though you were investing in something important. And a lot of these films, a lot of these shows, these are important to me. They shape my creative sensibility. They made me appreciate just what goes into great filmmaking and great storytelling. And they inspire me on a daily basis. Whenever I feel like I've hit a brick wall in terms of existential dread or creative, 0 point, I'll put on Return of the King, or I'll put on Close Encounters. I'll put on 5 Easy Pieces from these box sets, and I'll immediately feel reinvigorated. I guess all that's left to say is comment. What are some of your prized box set media? What are some of the films or shows that you have a pretty noticeable package of that you don't regret having, that offers you something a little extra, a little something special in the presentation of it, that you know the team behind it went the extra mile to make it a special purchase for you. And yeah, that's all I got for right now. Night, y'all.